first for me.
It's the first podcast you've been on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The only thing I've done is those guest appearances on my friend's vlog. So that's it.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you so much for being here with me. Misty, how do I say your last name?
Bohanon.
Bohanon. Got it. All right. Well, thank you very much for deciding to come on and talk to me. Where are you in the world?
I am in Paducah, Kentucky.
What's the weather like there?
Oh, man. It was gorgeous today. 55, sunny. We've had nothing but rain and more rain lately. So this was wonderful.
All right. Spring is coming for us. It was like almost 60 degrees today. I'm down in Memphis, Tennessee, so it's teasing us.
You guys, y'all have better weather than we do.
Okay. So where are you today? What do you do for a living, and what kinds of things do you do for fun?
Well, I am a risk specialist for our local hospital, which is really, it's kind of an interesting job. I'm a paralegal by career, and so I switched from the medical malpractice attorneys I was working for over to the hospital. So I get to work on very interesting things every day at work. But extracurricularly, I obviously run. And only throughout the winter, I torture myself every year. I will run all winter long when it's too cold to bike. And then in the summer, when I feel like it's too hot to run anymore, I start biking. So I road ride, I mountain bike, I do a couple centuries a year and dabble in mountain bike racing, and then pick it back up to run in the winter. And I just finished my first marathon.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah. When was your first marathon?
I think it was, 2 weeks ago. I just finished it. It was at Land Between the Lakes, and it was a torrential downpour during most of it. It had 22, 23 miles of trail, and I ran in thunderstorms and mud for a very long time, but we finished.
That could potentially be a bad experience. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
I the week I saw what was going to go down, the trail was actually flooded the week of the marathon, and didn't know if I was going to be able to get on it, which I bike this trail and I run this trail. It's my home trail. And so we watched it and got emails from the race directors all week long saying, we'll reroute it if we have to. And I'm thinking, I can't do this. This trail turns into a mud pit. And then I thought, well, I've spent 4 months training for this day. What am I going to do? So I sucked it up and made it happen and didn't fall one time. So we were very, very excited about it. It was my first marathon. It's a big deal. So
it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal that you did your first marathon on a trail as well.
That's yeah.
Yeah. You know, most people will go and run on the road or whatever for their first marathon, and it seems like Land Between the Lakes would be a pretty lofty goal for your first marathon. So that's pretty awesome.
It was if I hadn't ran that trail so many times, it would have been a very lofty goal. But to be honest, I mountain biked that trail. I would never consider riding 2 loops, and signed up to run 2 loops. Which of course takes longer and is harder than riding 2 loops last year, and thought, once it came time to train, what did I do? But I had fun doing it. I had a friend that did it with me, and we just made the best of it. And, when it became a downpour, I was like, this is crap. And then I put on my big girl panties and finished it up. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, then where did this journey begin? Your fitness journey.
I spent about 35 years of my life. In high school, I was a valedictorian, editor of the yearbook. I played piano, preacher's daughter, by the way. And so, couch potato. I never did anything athletic and was fine with it. And about age 35, I was watching The Biggest Loser, and they were fixing to run a marathon, and I'm laying up on the couch and thinking, whoa, they're doing it. Why am I on this couch watching them do it? And started texting a friend, and she said, I know this app. Let's download Couch to 5K right now. We're starting it. And I went out and started training for a 5K the next morning in 18-degree weather, which felt amazing, by the way. And it was terrible. But then I ran a 5K. And that wasn't enough. So I kept on running. I didn't stop. We trained for, I think it was the inaugural year of the first half marathon here in Paducah. What we call the Iron Mom. It's not the first one they've ever done, but it was the first one for this Iron Mom.
Okay, I saw that you had told me you did the Iron Mom, and I didn't know what that was. So you might have to explain.
Well, it's our local half marathon. A lot of people run it, actually. It's super easy. It's flat. But it is Mother's Day weekend. And it's like literally iron. It's like FE and then mom. So it talks about how strong moms are. So you do it as a mom. You do it for your mom. You celebrate moms. So I trained. And then actually that year we flooded. If you don't catch the drift, we flood around here. And it got moved to June, Father's Day weekend. And we ran it, crossed the finish line, and she looked at me. She said, a marathon's next. That was like 2011. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, but that's where it started. It started with that.
Nice. I remember watching that Biggest Loser episode where they ran the marathon.
Yeah.
And I really want to go back and think how that corresponds with my first marathon, because it was around the same time. And I remember watching, there was one guy on there who was he was a really big guy. And I was like, there is no way that this guy can run 26.2 miles, you know? And it was a very inspiring thing. So I can see how you might look at that and go, wow, I can totally get up. I can totally get up off this couch and go do something. And I want to say that had something to do with my experience as well, because of what year that was. 2011 was around the same time that I started getting into fitness as well, I think. So yeah, that was definitely inspiring. So what happens after your first marathon?
Well, I made it. And then about a month later, I think I kind of kept doing a few runs here and there. And about a month later, I know it was July, I was out running with the same friend who owns a CrossFit gym, by the way, now. That's where she does. Yeah, it's a small
Well, let's give them a shout out. What gym is that?
It is, well, they were formerly known as Dig Deep here in Paducah, and now they're like CrossFit West Kentucky. Obviously, I don't do CrossFit. Okay. But yeah, so she was really excited I was talking to you tonight. But
oh, cool.
Anyway, yeah, I texted her. She's busy with the gym, but I texted her and told her, and she thought it was pretty cool.
Nice.
But so we went out running. We were going to be like 3 or 4 miles, nothing big. It was hot, whatever. And she goes, "What's that sound?" And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, "It sounded like something was just flopping on the road every step we took." And she goes, "It's you." And I said, "What?" And so that's when we realized that I had a problem with my leg. And my foot wasn't picking up and hitting the ground like it should. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what was going on. But obviously, I think I made it about 1 mile in that July. That was my last mile for 4 years.
Well, what describe that a little bit more. What do you mean, like when your foot is not hitting the ground like it should?
It was slapping the ground. It wouldn't pick up. It was kind of dragging. Actually, I could drag my toe a little bit. And so you know how you have a nice foot strike with the one foot, and then the other one is it just slaps it. it slammed down, and so that would jar my whole entire leg.
Okay.
So
that doesn't sound good at all.
it was a little scary. It was
Right.
actually very scary. And I thought, well, I think I gave it a few days. I can't remember exactly how long. Then I started developing like some hip pain. It really was just one thing after another. I ended up at my family doc, who at the time I think it was complaining in my hip. He gave me a shot for some bursitis, and he completely took me off any kind of physical activity. Just straight up took me off, and to heal, we thought. And it got worse. So we wait, and finally I start reading online. You know how you Google your symptoms, and either you're dying or you're not.
Yeah. Or you have cancer.
Yeah.
Like 95% of the time, yeah.
I know. You Google them up, and then you get embarrassed. You go to the doctor, like, well, I Googled it, and it says. But I was actually just completely enamored with that I had some nerve damage, and everything I read said you have a short period of time. You've got to get it treated before it's permanent. And snowballs. I'm trying to think. I went to our local orthopedic doctors. Started out with a back doctor because we ended up doing an MRI on my back, and it was messed up. And so I went to a knee doctor and then a back doctor. And by the time I got to the back doctor, my foot was really slipping down, and I could show him. I could actually make it do it for him. I could recreate the slap. So they want to wait more, and I said, nope, we're not waiting. So I go to Vanderbilt, who's supposed to be really good, and they were excellent, obviously, but they referred me to Washington University in St. Louis. And so I get a letter of recommendation sending me to this big nerve doctor in St. Louis. She sees me about 5 minutes. I'm telling you, this is like a 3-4 month long process. I've been fitted for an AFO brace at this point. I can't walk and pick my foot up without it being braced on the bottom.
What is that? Because I was reading what you had emailed to me about the AFO brace, and I'm kind of curious about how that all works. I didn't look it up or anything.
Well, let me just tell you, it was hell. It hurt. It was a metal plate on the bottom of my foot that when I would go to pick my leg up, it would pick my foot up with it because it was trying to drag and trip. My toes were kind of dangling, and they would kind of drag and trip me.
Was it like I don't have a better word, but a contraption that was like attached to the higher part of your leg, so that when you pulled it would also pull your foot off the ground?
It had straps around my calf. 2 different straps around my calf, and then a metal plate on the bottom of my foot. So it was real comfortable.
It sounds comfortable.
I was just, so that's how I was getting around at that point. And then I saw this. I mean, she's really a world-renowned doctor. I didn't need a world-renowned doctor, but I had to apply for her to see me, and so she accepted me. And I went, and she spent about 5 minutes with me, and I had a compressed nerve on the right side of my knee. And she says, I just got to go in there and relieve the pressure. It's no big deal. And she flits out with all these people around her, and I was like, what happened here? And her fellow came in and explained that I actually had lost, during this time I was losing weight, because I was running, and up until that point. And I had lost so much, my nerve got trapped up on my bone. And it stayed there and compressed it. And so it wasn't getting the sensories, down at my ankle. It wasn't getting everything. It was trapped.
So it was as a result of losing all the weight. Your nerve kind of got stuck somewhere. And
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was. I know. It was, and she diagnosed it. I mean, I had seen all these doctors. I had all these medical tests ran. She came in and probably spent 5 minutes with me and did some kind of crazy nerve test that I've never seen done, and left. And she said, I'm going to do surgery on you. Do you want to have surgery? And I said, yes. And I scheduled surgery for 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how was surgery for something like that? Was
That was not so bad. You would think that moving a nerve would be the most painful thing you can experience, and it wasn't. She put some kind of bulb of pain medication actually right beside the nerve, so it didn't hurt that much. She just went in, made a little 4-inch incision, scooted the nerve off, sewed me back up, told me not to, I couldn't like take a step up with that leg for 2 months. I couldn't really use the leg. I could walk on it, but I couldn't walk far. I had a whole lot of restrictions. She didn't want me to really move it around that much for 2 months. And then she swore it was going to fix it, and it did.
Well, so this happens and you've lost a bunch of weight, right?
Yes.
And now all of a sudden you have this problem and you can't do anything, right?
Nothing.
Like you're just kind of waiting for the doctors and everything on rest period. Was that hard for you coming from a place where you had lost a bunch of weight and were, getting in shape? And now all of a sudden there's 2 months where you can't really do anything. Did that have a pretty bad effect on you, or were you just able to deal with that pretty easily?
It was the beginning of a really hard time, in my life, because all I wanted to do was run with my friends, and I created a new life, and I couldn't go with it. But during that 2 months, I felt like it might do the trick, it might fix it. And it was literally all I had. So, I think I was already, I was probably 5 months into having a drop foot by the time she did surgery. So I was like, whatever, what's 2 more months? And so I waited 2 months, and when I was able to run maybe a mile after that 2 months. I don't think it was, but I sat down and just cried, because when I figured out it had worked, I mean, there was a huge wave of emotion. I can't even comprehend, because I thought I was going to be a cripple the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And so you went out and ran a mile and it felt good, and you were like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, I just went back in. My deck at the time was very therapeutic, so I went out, sat on my deck, and just thank God, thought about what I've been through, and celebrated that. And then I went back to see the doctor.
Okay.
And I had developed a new problem.
And what was that?
That was, I had lost so much muscle mass in my quad that I now had a tracking problem for my kneecap. And somewhere, I had actually forgot I had even been able to run that 1 mile. At some point, it got to where every time I tried to do any kind of exercise on it, it was just hurting. It was aching, it was hurting. And at my first post-op appointment, I got my first orthopedic doctor appointment at Washington University that same day. And that began another round of physical therapy, trying to build my quad up, trying to get my kneecap to track right. And I went through 6 or 8 more months of that before I had my second surgery.
And where was all that at?
St. Louis.
So you had to travel to St. Louis, and were you staying there for a while and like going through PT or whatever it was?
No, they would write the orders. I would go up for the appointments and the imaging, and they would write the orders, and I'd bring them back. At this point, I had developed a personal relationship, not like a relationship, but professional relationship with my physical therapist, and would bring him the orders, and we would start therapy again, because I had at this point had been with him almost a year, 6 months to a year of therapy off and on with him. And so I started trying to rehab my leg, and then ended up with my third doctor at Washington University, orthopedic surgeon, the surgeon for the St. Louis Rams.
And so then what happened?
We developed he discussed with me a I don't think it was considered at the time experimental procedure, but at the time we discussed having, he would go in laparoscopically, take, I had found out that I had I think it's like a grade 4 cartilage issue, to where I didn't have a whole lot of cartilage under my kneecap, and that's what the problem was. There was just no cushioning at all. And he thought it was probably a result of trauma at some point to my knee, because it was abnormal again. And so he could grow cartilage. I could be a donor. They'd send it off, grow more cartilage, and he was going to implant it in. It was a 2-surgery process, and that's what I agreed to do. So I go in for the first procedure, where he gets a sample of my cartilage to send off to grow more cartilage. And I have that surgery. It's supposed to be laparoscopic, no big deal. And I wake up in a full leg brace. And he and my husband had decided to do a different surgery on me than I had consented to. So I'm telling you, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. So I woke up and I see the brace, and he says, well, you didn't have done what you thought you were going to have done. And I said, what happened? What did you do? And he said, I can't remember the name of it. This is my ex-husband, by the way. I can't remember the name of the surgery. And I was like, what? You can't remember what they do to me? And he's like, I don't know. I can't remember. So then I start trying to, I had done obviously I like to Google. I'd done all the internet stuff, and I would start naming off stuff. Did this happen? Did you do this? Did you do this? And I said, did you do a microfracture? Which is what I had read failed on everybody, and then they would end up having to have surgery. And I was hoping not. And he said, yes, that's it. And I just said, oh, okay. So, because I wouldn't have consented to that one. So
go ahead.
So I go home in a full leg brace with a CPM machine. Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
That is that machine they used to use on all the artificial knee replacement people, that you would put your leg in a machine and it would move it. The machine was the only movement it got. Out, up, out, up. And right. I laid in that machine 8 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
6 weeks after that one.
That's terrible.
and literally, I tell that because later on, when I tell you how much that has stuck with me, because all I wanted to do was be out of the bed, and I was laid up in the bed hours and hours and hours listening to the hum of a machine.
So you were laying in bed while that machine's just moving your leg?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so then what?
Then I do more physical therapy with my friendly physical therapist, and still can't. Every time I try to take even just a step toward a run, just one step, it hurts so bad. I keep my orthopedic surgeon on call, and I do therapy, and it doesn't work. He does an MRI, and it failed. The microfracture did not grow more cartilage like he had hoped, and so we decided to plan my third and final knee surgery, which was it's called an Oates procedure, and I was my own bone and cartilage donor, and he went in and grafted cartilage underneath. We removed my kneecap and implanted my own grafts in the place of that, and I went home again with a CPM.
Okay, was it different this time, or?
It would hurt. It was worse. It was way worse this time, because the bone where I had 6, because they did drill in 3 times to get the grafts, and then 3 more to implant them. So I had a whole lot of bone involvement this time. But I did prehab before, because I knew that I needed to have the strength. And so the rehab may have been a bit better this time, because I had a lot more muscle going in. I had done as much as I could.
What did that prehab? You mean between the microfracture failure and this Oates procedure, you did some sort of prehab, which means you were doing some sort of physical activity to prepare for it?
Yes. And that's where my friend, the PT, came in, and he wrote me a plan. And in between every surgery, when I couldn't run, I biked. I had a bicycle. I would go out and ride it as much as I could to get my quads back. And so I did spin, I did wall sits, I did lunges, I did squats. I think I was probably doing some step ups if it didn't hurt too bad, and things like that to build up those muscles before I couldn't use them for months.
So how long did it take you to recover from that Oates procedure?
I think I was in the CPM again for 6 weeks, and the recovery was 6 months, 6 to 9 months, probably 6 before, thinking of when I had it. No, it was a year. It was a year before I ran again.
So is that where you are right now, or what have you, where are you today?
Today, I'm training for Iron Mom again. I ran 5 miles before our podcast, trying to get ready to run on the road. I'm running the trail, so did a little speed work. But
so you haven't done any running since that Oates procedure?
Oh, no, yeah, of course I have.
Okay.
Let me think. I had the Oates procedure, and then I recouped from it. I went through the death of my father, and I divorced, and then my therapy was to run again. Right and on. So I started running because I could just leave my house, and I did. And I would say 1.5 years after that Oates procedure, I was back at the Iron Mom running it and PRing it.
Nice.
So, and I did that all year long, and then I had a little incident where I broke my toe and had to pick up back on the bike. So I just constantly go between the two. But I did Iron Mom, and then I met a mountain biker, and we spent a whole lot of time at the trail. So I started trail running, and that's how I got to where I am with the trail marathon, and I ran at Tunnel Hill and some things like that. So.
Oh, you ran Tunnel Hill?
Only the 10-miler, man. I saw you did a lot more, but I did the 10-mile this year.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What a great race. That's a great place to be.
Oh my gosh. I've ridden it for years on my bicycle.
Okay.
And so my friends wanted to run it, and I was like, no, it's bicycle season. I can't run that far. And I've trained for about 3 weeks, and then went and ran the 10-miler, and I'll be back. That was fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is the people at that race, the support is just amazing. It's a fantastic experience for sure.
Yeah.
So what are, well, I want to ask you a question that popped in my head. Do you think all the problems you had, I don't know, you didn't say, but do you think all the problems stemmed from being overweight early on? Like, had you just been in shape the whole time, do you think you would have had these problems at all, or was it something else? If that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. And when I asked the very first doctor that did the first surgery, the nerve doctor, after the surgery was over and she'd already, knew exactly what had happened. And I said, so tell me what happened. And she said, when you lost the weight, you lost it really fast. And at the same time, you were building muscle. So my leg was shrinking, but the muscle was growing, and it left no place for that nerve. So that's how I got trapped. And she said, she said, it was just, I said, so you're telling me I'm big boned? And she said, yes, you are. Because that's how I got trapped. I have a big bone. And I said, I knew it. But yeah, it was a result of what all I had done to try to get healthy. And that catapulted into the rest of things. So that is it. It was well worth it, because I'm definitely a different person than I was when I was 35 watching The Biggest Loser. probably eating a bowl of ice cream at the same time, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I've been there for sure. So, so what do you, what's, can you say that there is anything that's kept you motivated this whole time? Like, is there anything that you always refer back to, or any books that you've read, or anything that just inspired you to? Because most people would have just been like, man, screw this, I'm just gonna go back on the couch with that bowl of ice cream, versus trying to go to see another doctor and all those kinds of things. Why? What do you think sets you apart from the average person?
I think that the reason I can't tell you why I went through everything I went through, but I can tell you that when I went back to running, because that was my goal all along, I wanted to run again. And I liked the way I felt. I liked the energy I had. I liked me as a runner. You just feel different. And I wasn't about to give it up. And so I worked hard to get it back. And when I was able to start running again, you have those runs where you're like, I don't want to do this. Why am I doing this again? Somebody tell me why I'm doing this. And I don't think I can run another half mile. And every time I do that, all I think about is laying in that CPM, thinking I'm doing this so I can run. And so, I remember that and think, there was a time when all you wanted to do was run, and now you're mad you're running. Get over yourself. So I go back to it a lot.
So what's next? What are you looking forward to? What kinds of things you gonna tackle in the future?
Well, at the LBL Trail Marathon, last year I did one loop, was about 14 and a half miles. This year was did 26.2. There is a 60K option.
I was going to say, I thought there was a 60K out there for sure.
There is. I have to say it very quietly. If my husband hears me, he could try to kibosh it. But that is what's next. And it may not be next year. I have a girlfriend that trains with me, and she's got a young kid. So it may be 2 years from now, or it may be next year. I don't know. I don't know. But that's what's next. I can tell you that this summer I will spend a lot of time on my bike, doing my centuries and a little mountain bike racing, and running at the same time. But that's what's on tap. I don't want to switch over to a road marathon because of the pounding on my knee. So, and I love the trail.
Oh my gosh, it's so much better than it's so awesome that you just ran your first marathon on the trail. I wish I had done that, and then I would have never just ran. Although I still do run on the roads, but it's no comparison. Running in the woods versus running on the road is just two whole different worlds.
It is. And when you run trail, you can take your sag stops. We had to change our shoes. Obviously it was pouring down rain, and you're like, whatever, who cares about your time? This is about doing it. And on the road, my road friends that I have some very talented road friends, and they don't stop to take water in. They take it and they just keep on going, do the goo, don't ever stop 26 miles. I like to enjoy what I'm doing. Right.
Me too. Well, I really appreciate you talking to me. This has been a fantastic conversation. Is there anything you want to give anybody a shout out or plug anything, a website, anything at all?
Sure. First of all, I got to thank my husband, Kevin Bohanon, for supporting me. He is an excellent mountain bike racer. I know that runners will be listening to this who know about Leadville, because there's a big trail run there, and he did it on his mountain bike last year. So that was an absolute blast. I'm so proud of him. Yes. And we are members of our local mountain bike and running club. It's called Team Wooden Wave. And you'll see I wear Wooden Wave everything, because that's what we do. So I got to definitely say that we support each other, and they were very supportive of everything I've ever done since I've been a member. So nice. That's it.
Nice. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me. and it means a lot to me. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet.